Oh yeah, let's review the episode. These people are freaking evil, man. So yeah, they have. Oh man. So of course, as we know with the Twice thing, all right, he went crazy. He has the power, of course, to create duplicates, and they kind of, who's the real one, and that's why he has the scar in the face and all this stuff, right? That has to have the mask on to go crazy. So yeah, they're like, let's make puppet clones of Twice and attack you with them. That's gonna be hilarious. So he's gonna have a lot of Mentos right in this episode, certainly. But it's really interesting because this again points to, we saw with Toga's fight, Toga having owned, right, that these bad guys, the Liberation Front bad guys, they clearly have a lot of data. They're clearly very rich. He's basically kind of the evil, rich millionaire bad guy, right? And he's like, oh, we use our satellites, we know their backstory, so yeah, they seem to know his exact. I mean, they did also, of course, I guess, interrogate his friend, right? But still, he seems to know exactly his weakness. They prepared it, and the same with Toga and so on. So they're clearly owning them right now here. But at least they're leveling up, right? This is like a bad guy training org. Yeah, they're like, by pushing the bad guys to the limits, to the Genkai, they can level up, right? So Toga, of course, leveled up, and I certainly Twice can. He's gonna have to, of course, do it. And here he's like, Toga is, of course, his best friend, so I'm guessing he's gonna be able to level up to save Toga, right? It's gonna be his push him over the edge, try to, beat his clones, right? Or call them like the doppelganger or whatever we call them. So he's probably gonna create more stuff, right? He's gonna have to create more of himself. That might make him overcome his own fear then of creating many multiple man clones, right? For that matter, like he's obviously afraid of using his powers to its full extent. So having to save Toga is probably gonna push him more limit, right? Toga Chan as Uraraka is first time use her powers then. And then, of course, could gravity them. And I love the ending too, because he did the Uraraka, the touching everyone, and did the whole, of course, the Uraraka stance, right? And then we saw that, but instead of being an Uraraka, of course, when she throws rocks at them, Toga is throwing blood, right? So behind her, it's like a fountain of blood, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's Uraraka Toga, yeah, it's a nice touch to it. But it was cool, definitely, really cool seeing her, improving her powers. Definitely looked very, very short though. Comparing to like the mimic power, where you can have 5 different powers and so on, for a duration. And she seemed very, very short-lived, right? Like by turning into Uraraka and actually using the powers, she lost her Uraraka body shape, right, almost immediately. So seems to be a very limited power though. But that being said, I guess because you can drink the blood, right, and kind of get the powers back again. If she had a huge amount of blood from Uraraka, she probably can just keep drinking blood, right, and of course keep being in the body. So I guess she just consumes the blood power quickly. So if she has more blood, a bigger blood bank, she can probably do it forever, right? Like in theory, she just keep drinking like a health potion, right, so to speak. Or maybe it a mana potion, but it's a red, it's a health potion. Evil, half face, half thing there. Just clearly quickly losing the body power. I was like, yeah, I'm using that Uraraka. It was beautiful. It was a really good season. A really good episode, definitely. Probably the best episode. This arc is scored much better than we had. The first one was definitely the weakest, of course, with the tournament arc thing. Right? The Endeavor arc was good. It was very slow paced, but it was good. I mean, I love Endeavor. It's doing the right thing. It is awesome to see. They're all kind of leveling up. She got, I guess, the whole decay thing. So, right, so it seems to be a huge leveling arc really for the bad guys, which of course is gonna come back and they're gonna fight Deku or whatever at the end of the arc, I guess. I mean, eventually these arcs they handle, right? They're gonna turn them. I mean, I'm guessing that I'm only that, but I'm guessing after we have next episode with Twice and so on, then the story probably goes back to being Hero Academia, right? And then they're gonna fight these guys, and of course all gonna be like 10 levels higher, right? They're gonna push to the limit, right? Crazy way, right? So he's getting a decay thing, definitely. And when I react, like, yeah, he definitely kind of touch one guy and everyone died immediately, right? Like an AoE thing. But that makes sense to me, absolutely. I mean, his powers is basically, it touches you, right? And your body kind of decays. So why would that spread? Make perfect sense. For example, I made this video game 19. I made all the games in my life, but I released one game in 19. And I had this unit called the Scourge that it can control like a viral plague, a very plague at an enemy. Or an ally for that matter, if you want to. But and then plague, it hits like an AoE attack around you, right? And if it hits the guy, an ally next to that guy, it spreads, right? A typical Scourge, typical like kind of venomous attack. And if you hit the Scourge, it poisons you back and so on, right? So certainly, because his powers are basically some kind of plague decay, right? Yeah, I think it makes perfect sense. He can touch one guy, and the guy next to him also would you know, be infected, right? Like, yeah, like why not? And he could even jump over bodies. I can live with that too, definitely. I mean, because it's like a plague, right? So you touch one guy and it kind of makes the body explode. And if, for example, I think it makes sense if his body parts, the one he creates, touches you, if that kind of petrification stone touches you, you also might die, right? Because it's like that flies to you, and then that like that stone thing is gonna, you know, make you transform too, right? That could be how it works. I don't know exactly how it works, but I think that would make sense, yeah. Like, because this is actually like a virus, right? So even kind of the dust he creates could definitely kill someone, I suppose, right? If he like maximizes his quirk. So yeah, like that it could be a good way to make him really powerful. Of course, he's powerful, but I mean even stronger. By course, like touching one person and that might spread like some kind of virus, right, and killing a village, right, or a city, so on. Definitely. So quite the power up, definitely. Quite the massive power up to be able to kind of spread the decaying petrification plagues. But I think it makes definitely a lot of sense to just be like, yeah, this is just how his power is going to level up, right, in one way. Dabby, of course, is fighting Ice Guy. And this feels like the most straightforward worst fight. The Ice Guy is like, what, ice can melt? He doesn't even argue with it. You can melt my ice? Well, I can make more ice, or can I control it? But still, though. No, yeah, I understand what you meant there. Yeah, I understand what you meant, that that he breaks the other guy's neck. Yeah, not twice, yeah. I got what you meant, yeah. But I think they just probably remove that, right, because it's like probably too brutal. But anyway, I mean, obviously, every time I sit down, I'm Pokemon, I give it Pokemon, I'm like, it's an ice Pokemon, fire Pokemon, worst thing ever. And also because, like, I'll say, Darby is said, like Toya, right, because they're obviously the same person, is said to have the highest flame, right? Like his flame is higher temperature, right, than Endeavor and so on, and also I guess to the Rocker, right? Like he has the highest fire temperature. As I explained in the episode, it makes sense because blue flames is a high temperature than red flames, because a blue fire is created by the oxygen being burned at a higher level, right? So it creates like a plasma thing, maybe, depends on how high it is, but that's kind of why it's blue. So yeah, like Darby has a much higher temperature fire, so he's easily gonna melt the ice. So I really don't see why this guy's gonna be a trouble for him. He's gonna melt it, but I guess he has to, like, I don't know, level up by, I don't know, higher temperature, right? You know, massive increasing the temperature, I suppose. Feels very straightforward. Reminds me of The Flash. If you've seen The Flash TV show, it's like, run faster, Barry, just run faster. It reminds me of that. It's like, just go higher temperature. It feels like a very, very straightforward power up, right? Where Toga is actually like unlocking, drinking blood and getting someone's power. She got like decaying power, right? And Twice, I guess, has to overcome his mental. For Twice, if it's more like he has the power, he has to kind of overcome his mental lock, right? But then Darby is like, I don't know, go higher temperature, maximize the flame or something. It feels pretty. You see all these weird quirks. I mean, obviously these people are kind of low level nobodies, but I really enjoy seeing this. Like, he's the guy, he got like a chef power. He's like a chef guy. He can turn his hand into like a spoon or something. And you go, okay, you know what? You can throw like dishes or something. You can throw like food at you, or so. Yeah, he's a plate thrower. I mean, like, I think this is really. It's just fun. It's just fun seeing these, you know, random people with different quirks, right? Because one thing that I have to say that I always complained about My Academia, especially season 2, is when they have this fight in the village, in the cities, when they have the people there, we don't see them use quirks. People are like, oh, but they have to have hero license and this blah blah stuff, right? But it doesn't make any sense, because if someone tries to killing you, right? If I had a quirk, if I wasn't a hero, someone's trying to kill me, of course I would use the quirk in self-defense, even if my quirk would be like, oh, I can throw a tiny fireball, but I'll still use it, right? So when the norm is sort of like, you know, murdering people in the village, right, kind of thing, he's going around, and everyone's like, oh yeah, no one using the quirks, I think that to me is just weird. Like, why wouldn't you use the quirks? Even if the quirks are quite weak, if you use them. Who cares if it's breaking the hero kind of laws? Who cares if I'm gonna die or not? I'm gonna use it as a reflex, so it never made any sense. This episode here, I think it's a lot better, right? Sure, these are bad guys, so they don't actually care about their laws, obviously, but this makes sense. Like, because not everyone, but most people have quirks, right? The majority of people are gonna have quirks, so I'm really enjoying this episode on this point, definitely. Seeing everyone running around with different weird quirks, even if the quirks obviously aren't that good. Okay, he can, like, make a spoon hand. yeah, okay, like that's a pretty like whatever quirk, right? But it's just fun seeing that everyone in this village has like quirks or city, whatever. They have different weird weird stuff going on with them. It's just cute. Like you see the guy with like whip hand, and you know there's a bunch of different weird quirk guys. The guy with the hand, the guy with like he can transform his hand into like a mouth thing, right? Use a lot of creative powers. I think that's really great. Seeing them all, like it's my weird quirk power. And the good thing is that because the premise is that everyone is like a quirk kind of thing, right? They don't need a backstory to explain why they have powers. Like it's similar to example than X-Men, as everyone knows X-Men is, right? but anyway, X-Men. That's actually, if you ever read like Stan Lee's book about this one, Stan Lee explains that the reason they made the X-Men was because they were like, oh, with Spider-Man, we had to create like a backstory in this thing. With Iron Man, we had to create a backstory and so on. With X-Men, sure they have backstories. They have like the life, they have, Nightcrawler is this guy, blah, blah, and so on. But they were like, why do they have powers? Well, they were just born with powers, right? That's why they made the X-Men, because they could make a lot more bad guys and good guys, of course, and just be like, well, what if it's like 10 bad guys? They're mutants. It's easier for them to just, come up with why do they have powers, right? That's why they established the whole mutant thing and the different, inheriting power and so on, right? When they started writing the X-Men, because it was so much easier to create so many more characters. Where the Avengers characters are all, usually humans that gain powers, right? Maybe someone's a god, but most of them are like humans gaining powers, like the Hulk and so on. And they have to of course explain how that makes sense, right? So they felt the X-Men was like the good thing. And here's the same thing, right? They're like, because the world building is like, well, everyone is a mutant, it's so easy for the author to be like, here's a mouse guy, he can create a mouth. He has a big mouth. And, so on. So it's to kind of build on that, just throwing in a lot of creative powers. What we're thinking about. So I think that's a great way to make the episode and the world building funnier, because he can just throw in the spoon guy, right? He's like, why not? He can have a spoon power. He can have a weird quirk. I mean, one thing that I think is funny with this world building, just like with X-Men, but also with Magneto, is that you can have a lot of bad powers, of course. As we know, we can have a lot of bad quirks that no one actually would ever use for being a hero. We are in, I think, a lot of other shows. A lot of people are kind of like, well, most powers are kind of good, right? But here you can have a lot of like just crappy powers that no one ever wants, right? But I guess one thing though, which I would say definitely in the One Piece though, if it goes to One Piece, there are some bad fruits definitely, but mostly in One Piece though, I think that's strange there though is that there are a lot of weird powers in One Piece, but Oda is like, I can make this work. I can make this guy a cracker. He make cookies, so they can be powerful. So in One Piece it's more like they have really weird powers, and Oda makes it powerful, right? He makes it powerful, yeah. But here's a lot of bad powers. We throw in like a lot of crazy people with, oh, look at the mouth guy. He can like bite you or something. So that's funny in its own way, right? Yeah, it's like, what shitty power can I come up with today? This guy. Like there's one guy in this is in Marvel though. There's one guy in Marvel that has transparent skin, right? So you can see through his skin. That's his only power. His skin is transparent. He's completely useless. You can just like, you can see his bone and flesh. Oh, what a great power! Like he's not invisible. Right? His skin is invisible. It's such a bad power. Like this is like he got a really bad quirk, man. Kind of like the guy that could. What could he do in the Kirishima's backstory? He can make a rock thing, you can throw a little rock. He's like, I can throw stones at you, and it's like the pebble. It's like, yeah, look at my power. It's like a little pebble thing coming up. It's like basically like a rock you throw from the ground, right? Like it's a horrible quirk, really. I guess in theory, though, the guy that can create like rocks and pebbles actually has a kind of earth power. I mean, I guess we could level it up. We could like control earthquake, whatever, like a Whitebeard thing. I suppose so. Maybe in theory, it's the same thing. It's like a level 1 thing. But still though, that's one of my, I think, a really good side part of the episode, right? That everyone has these funny quirks we get to see, like the chef guy and so on. Chef guy's probably the best guy. He's like, I was born with the power to create a spoon hand. I'm gonna be a chef. It's kind of like born for that job, right? Like I have the power to create forks and spoons and so on in my hands, kitchen utensils. I have a utensil power. I better be a chef. It's like a big, evil chef guy. What else can I do with my powers? But yeah, on your last point there, it is sad that they censor stuff that, of course, removes character building, right? Which is in a lot of animes. My favorite worst favorite example of that, when they kind of remove or add scenes in the animes versus the mangas, when it kind of changes the characterization, is the Naruto. So it's a spoiler here and spoiler Naruto, but it's old school, right? So when Sasori meets Kankuro in Naruto, that's my favorite part of that. Because in the manga, Sasori beats him in one panel. It's like that and it's over. But in the anime, it's like an episode. And it's the opposite, right? They add so much on that fight, you're like, wow, this is so different. In the manga, it's supposed to be that the Sasori is so good at building puppets, right? They can just dismantle them easily. In the anime, then, it's like a filler fight, right? They completely changes the dynamic of how good of puppeteer Sasori is, right? It completely ruins his backstory. I'm like, holy shit, man. If you look at it from like a power perspective, it's ridiculous. Hodo same thing with Zoro in One Piece. Really changed the station there. But yeah, every time they remove stuff, right, from the manga, especially if it's like a character building moment, of course it's bad, but I'm guessing the reason why is because they're like, oh, it's too brutal. This guy is too much of a bad guy. We can't show that. So that's unfortunate, right? They're removing that stuff. And I want to spoil here, but I can say one thing. Yesterday I read Black Clover, and that recent fight in Black Clover, Noelle is basically butt naked the whole fight. So I'm waiting for how the anime is gonna do that, because Tabata has been doing like, here's Noelle showing her assets every chapter. You're like, I wonder how they're gonna animate that, because that doesn't feel like a shonen show anymore. It's like an so I'm looking forward to when Black Clover comes back to be like, I wonder how they're gonna animate this thing. They're gonna have to give her a lot of extra clothing, I guess, and censor it, something like that. But guys, subscribe to so see you guys later tonight with of course Yaya, Tokyo Revengers, and Erasure Hero. Of course, tomorrow we have One Piece. And I said again here, I'm really enjoying FINNALLY, another pirate anime. Wonderfully beautiful anime that started 2 weeks ago, which is a short anime but really beautiful. Like one of the arguably probably the best looking anime this season from like an animation standpoint, and it's really fun and so on. So not a nice like shonen, kind of a Disney shonen show, but I really recommend it. It's like a weird anime because it really feels like a Disney show. Like it's made by Crunchyroll, so you feel like wow, this is actually very Western, but it's definitely the best Western Crunchyroll show I've ever seen in my life. I mean, almost every Crunchyroll anime original is horrible. X-Arm is just a man and all things. It's horrible. But the Pirate Princess is actually really good. It feels like a mixture between a shonen show and some kind of Mulan, some kind of Disney story. But it's fantastic, I think, honestly. So that's tomorrow, but in One Piece is one. The Pirate Sundays. But anyway, see you guys and have a great day.